Hello everyone, I'm back again, and today I have a story. I'm not going to tell you the name, I'd like you to see if you can guess. Here we go. Jack sighed heavily as he walked up to work. He dreaded morning shifts at the shoe shop, but it was one of the only ways his family could get by. Jack had been living with his mother for quite some time, and he was the only one who could work as his mother was quite poorly. It was boring, but it paid the bills and kept a roof over their heads. He scrounged around in his pocket to find the key for the front door. As he opened it, the door let out a loud creak that sounded like a scream. "Same," Jack said to the door. After setting up for the day, Jack propped up in his favourite chair. It was not often that the shop even received a customer these days, with how the economy had been. Most of his days were spent fantasizing about being rich and whisking his mother away to a beach town for the rest of her days. As Jack settled in for his daily daydream, the door screamed again. In walked a woman wearing a long black flowing dress and a hat. He'd never seen her around town before. Her hair was pulled up in a messy bun, with brown curly strands falling from it. She seemed to be around his age. She limped through the door carrying a large bag that was falling open. Not the most graceful woman he'd ever seen, but she sure is beautiful, Jack thought. He got up to help her with her bag. "Oh, it's fine, I've got it," the woman said, grabbing her bag away from him and zipping it up before he could see its contents. "Are you all right? What can I help you with?" Jack asked. "I was just checking out some of the town shops and need help with my shoe," she said, lifting up her left leg. He took a look at the shoe and could see that the heel was cracked. This was fixable, no problem. "I can fix this, easy," he said, smiling at her. She smiled back and put her foot up on the counter. "Great, then get to work," she said with her smile widening. Jack had never had someone expect him to fix a shoe with their foot still in it. But he wasn't expecting anyone to come in today, so who was he to make demands? He needed the money. As he fixed the shoe, the two began talking. She was so engaging, fascinating in fact, and funny. Before he knew it, they were both giggling and laughing as they shared stories of their lives with each other. He hadn't gotten along with someone like this in quite some time, if ever. "Would you like to have dinner tonight?" he asked her. "That would be lovely. I haven't got any friends in town yet, and it's been a bit of a bore if I'm being honest," she said, taking her foot down. "The heel is so sturdy now, thank you." Even though they'd only been talking for about 30 minutes, though it did seem more like hours to Jack, this woman had a hold on Jack that he couldn't explain. He wanted to spend all his time with her. "I'll meet you out front around 5 when I'm done," he said excitedly as the woman walked around the store, testing out her newly repaired shoe. "Can't wait," she replied, her eyes twinkling as she picked up her bag and left. Jack spent the rest of his time at work with a smile on his face, which was unlike him. The hours flew by as he cleaned the shop, checked inventory, and did all he could trying to pass the time. As soon as he was done for the day, he checked his hair and ran out to meet her. It was exactly 5 o'clock. She was waiting outside in the same outfit as before, still carrying her large bag. Her hair though was more put together, so she must have gone somewhere to freshen up. She extended her arm out for Jack to take it and gave him a light kiss on his cheek. Jack felt himself turning red, completely smitten. "Shall we?" she asked, smiling. The pair went to the only cafe in town that Jack could afford. They sat at a little table in the back and ordered drinks, pancakes and ice cream, giggling and smiling at each other just like earlier in the shop. "I have to ask, what's in the bag?" Jack pointed to her case. "Oh, it's nothing, just something I've been trying to sell," she replied. "Well, what is it?" Jack asked. "You know the castle up in the clouds?" she responded. Jack was very familiar with the castle up in the clouds. There was once a giant who lived there, but the rumor was that he had been killed in a far-off land, as he had not been seen in decades, according to the older townfolks. No one in town had been able to recreate the beanstalk that could span from the castle in the sky to the land below. Without it, there was no way to get to the castle. Jack always dreamt of moving his mother up there if he could get to it, as he had heard the castle was filled with more riches than anyone could spend in 10 lifetimes. "Yes, I'm very familiar," Jack said. "Well, you know how the giant got up there? I have the beans he used. It's not just a tall tale. With the giant gone, we could get up there, Jack. We could live there together. Everything would be perfect," she said as she gazed into his eyes. Jack's heart grew warm. He'd never felt like this about anyone before. Could they really get to the castle and make a life together? What was the catch? As if she read his mind, she said, "The catch is that the beans can't grow with just water. They need cow's milk, you see. And I don't have a cow." She smiled as she grabbed Jack's hands. "I can help. My mum has the only cow in town," Jack said excitedly. The woman smiled and opened her case and showed him the bag of beans. "Prove it," she said, her tone becoming serious all of a sudden. Jack did not pay attention to how she had changed, for he was overcome with the possibility of being able to spend the rest of his life with this woman, and of course his mother, up in the castle. He left her at the cafe and hurried back home, sneaking around the back to take milk from their dear cow whilst his mother lay in her bed. They had been the only family with a cow in the town for years. His poorly mother relied on the milk to ease her pains, and the cow had been struggling to produce much lately. As Jack tried to extract as much milk from their loyal cow as he could, it suddenly dropped dead on the floor. It seemed that would be the last bit of milk it would ever give. For a second, Jack felt a rush of guilt, for this meant his mother would no longer be able to ease her pains, but then he remembered the smile of his beloved and the promise of riches. "Once I climb the castle and get my hands on the gold, I'll take Mum to the best doctors money can buy." And with that, his feelings of guilt disappeared. The next morning, Jack and the woman went to the field directly below where the castle supposedly was, with the cow's milk in tow. The woman planted the seeds and watered them, using up all the precious milk. "Now we wait," she said. The two spread out a blanket next to the mound of tended earth to have a picnic, and kept an eye on the ticket to their new life. Jack could hardly wait to show his mother and bring her to their new home. Everything was going to be perfect. As they munched on cheese and drank wine, a rumbling in the ground began. The beans began to sprout and shoot up much faster than either of them anticipated. "Oh my!" she shouted. As the stalk grew and shot up into the clouds, they stood there in awe. "Jack, go get your mother. I will climb to the top to investigate," she said. Jack agreed and ran home to get his mother to show her what was happening. As he did so, the woman began to scale the stalk to reach the top. She moved quickly. Jack ran home to grab his mother and hurried back with her to see the stalk. As they got closer, Jack saw that the woman was already at the top of the stalk. "Come on up, Jack," she shouted. Jack could barely hear her, but she beckoned him with her arm upwards. He left his mother and began climbing the stalk. As he got closer, he saw his beloved smiling at him as she held in both hands a giant pair of shears. She began cutting the stalk above him. Jack felt a cold fear grab his heart and he began climbing faster. The stalk began to waver as the woman kept cutting. Just as Jack thought he would make it, he looked with astonishment at his beloved as she blew him a kiss and completed the last cut. The stalk began to tumble downwards. He felt himself falling all the way down, and after what seemed like an eternity, Jack's body landed with a bang on the ground. As his life faded from his body, he realized he never even knew her name. The end. Well, so this is a morbid twist on the classic Jack and the Beanstalk, but I loved it. I guess the moral of this story is always have a backup plan. I hope you enjoyed this twisted tale. Leave a comment below and share your thoughts. Till next time, take care.